Hey, welcome to the Stretch Sports Podcast. We're your host Joshua, and
Tushar.
in this podcast, we give our opinions on our favorite sports, which are basketball, soccer, and wrestling.
So, topic one, which is going to be our only topic, we're going to review all 30 NBA teams and we're going to give our midseason prediction grade from A to F. So, it's going to be very interesting. I'm not sure how Josh is evaluating this. For me personally, I'm evaluating it on based on expectation, what we expected from a team. Is that how you're going to evaluate that, Josh, as well?
Yeah.
All right, that sounds awesome. So let's start with the Eastern Conference. We're going to start with the number 15 seed, the Detroit Pistons, who are currently 12-37.
I'll give them, I say, standard C. I mean, this is kind of where I expect them to be, especially with Cade Cunningham's, season-ending injury. So there's not really much I expected from them. Their best player is out. Killian Hayes is playing pretty good in his role right now, and Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duran are also giving some good minutes. But I feel like this is where I thought they would be. I just say standard C because it's not like there's no worse they can get, and anything higher would have to be like in the B area. So I expect them to be where they're at, which is 15th. So yeah, what's your opinion on it?
Yeah, I mean, of course, when you talk about teams that are on the lower seed, they might, it might be an assumption we're just going to give Fs, but we're going to obviously go based on expectations, right? Like we can't give everybody's Fs out here. And yeah, for the Pistons, I give them a grade of C. Nobody kind of expected them to be in the playoff hunt, especially with Cade coming in being out for the rest of the season. We expect kind of this rebuilding franchise to continue, but obviously they're just going to keep on moving up and building steps because they're definitely still a few years away, I think, from being a playoff team or something. But who knows, maybe next season or not. Cade has to be healthy. Killian Hayes has been great. They got a lot of good young talent. Dwayne Casey is a very good coach, so I think it's gonna be interesting. But yeah, as it stands, it's kind of expected them to be in the lower part of the standings. Number 14, the Charlotte Hornets, who are currently 13-36.
Okay, so this team, I'm gonna give them a D actually. I mean, I feel like they're I don't know. I feel like this team was a solid team a few years ago, and they just regressed like for the past two seasons. I believe last season they were like what 10th, and now they're the second worst team in the East, which is to
Yeah.
me a big step back. I do know Lamelo was out for a good period of time, but I feel like this team isn't taking any stride in the right direction. I believe they're one of the worst teams in offense and defense in the league, and they're literally playing horrible basketball at the moment. So I don't know what they got to do, but this team gets a D from me. Like, what's your opinion on them?
I think you're being a little too kind. I give them an F.
Yeah,
Obviously no disrespect to that franchise, but obviously when you look at the last two seasons, under James Borrego, which again I don't really understand why he got fired, and I'm not knocking Steve Clifford. He's a good coach. But they were the 10th seed last two seasons, but they
yeah,
just lost in their first playing game. I think the first time they lost to Indiana, and the second time I think they lost to Atlanta, but they were blowouts both times. But now if you look at them, they're the 14th in the East, and what the expectation was, at least for Charlotte and for that franchise, is that at least be in the playoff hunt, the playing hunt. But they're a really bad basketball team, one of the worst right now. Obviously, Lamelo's been in and out the lineup. He's obviously sustained an injury, so it's kind of tough. But with the expectation for Charlotte was definitely not this. They made a coaching change for them to be better, and then they got far worse. So it's a very tough time. But yeah, obviously I'm going based on what I expected. I definitely expect them to be maybe in the 10th, 11th, like in that play-in hunt. But yeah, it's definitely shocking to see them, I think, fall this low in the standings. All right, number 13, we got the Orlando Magic, who are currently 18-29.
I'm gonna give them uh, I'd say a C to C plus because this is where they're supposed to be. I mean, they're a young developing team. They have their future star, I'd say, in Bankero. Jonathan Isaac also just returned, so I feel like they're building for the future. They have a lot of young talent on the roster, and they're, in my opinion, going in the right direction. So there's really nothing negative I could say. This is where I thought they'd be, and yeah, so I'd say C to C plus range.
So yeah, valid points. I gave them a B. I think it's the fact that I feel like you definitely seen a jump from Orlando from previous years, and I think it's the bottom line. They found their guy. They found their number one guy, like you're saying, Pablo Banchero, averaging 20.7 points, 6.5 rebounds, 3.8 assists, 43.9% from the field. I mean, he's a special talent. They found their guy. They're very excited. They have a lot of good young talent, and for some reason, I don't know if this is a thing, but for some reason they own Boston, which I don't understand. How is that possible? They beat them three times already in the regular season, which I'm very stunned. Um, just based on regular season, obviously owning. I'm just trolling, but but that's just surprising to me. But they beat some good teams. They have good players, and I feel like they're moving in that direction. Maybe a year or two down the line, they could definitely be a playoff team. So I think they're moving in the right direction. Definitely, I think they're still even though they're 13, still exceeding because they're like higher in the standings, and they're a couple games out of being they're only 4 games behind of being the 10th seed. So they're kind of in the mix a little far, but they're playing good basketball, and they're a team for the future for sure. So at number 12, we got the Toronto Raptors, who are currently 21 and 27.
I'm gonna give them a C minus because last season they were pretty good. They were fifth seed, I believe. This season, yes, I know Pascal Siakam missed a lot of time due to his injuries, but I feel like in general they've taken a step back. Like they're not the same team they were defensively. I feel like even with the defensive talent they have on the roster, I feel like they're just not a step slow, but they're not the same. And I feel like they'll have to like I don't know get into a new gear if they want to make a playoff push. But it's looking kind of bad for them right now. So yeah,
Yeah.
what would you say?
I kind of agree with your points. I gave them a D. They were the 5th seed last season. They played Philly. They won 6 games with Philly. Fred VanVleet was an all-star. Pascal Siakam. You got Scotty Barnes. Mm, uh, he was rookie of the year. So and you think they take potentially a step forward or kind
Yeah,
of be in the same mix, but they are 12th. They dropped, and it's kind of surprising. They got a lot of good talent. Like Fred VanVleet's an all-star caliber player. Pascal Siakam, he's been balling. He's averaging over 25. Scotty Barnes is getting better and things like that. So it's kind of surprising to see them kind of lower, but that can also be obviously the East is getting stronger. I think they've had some injuries here and there, but I still think I gave them the D, but I still think they can probably turn it around and they probably still could be in the playoff mix because they got a good team, so they definitely can turn it around. But yeah, definitely disappointing. You kind of expected them to be far better than what they currently are. Number 11, the Washington Wizards, which are currently 21 and 26.
so I'm gonna give them, I'd say
Yeah.
like a C minus in that range, maybe even D a bit, because I feel like this team, like they have talent on paper, but it's just not clicking to where I think it should click. Like they have Kuzma, they have Porzingis, they have Beal, even though he's only put out like a small portion of games this season, he's been hurt. They have Denny Advia. They also traded Rui Hachimura for Kendrick Nunn, which is another move I don't get, honestly. Like you're trading away a talented young player for not a veteran, but I guess another talented young player. But I just don't understand. I think he's one of the better young players they have on the team right now. To me, that's
Mm,
confusing. I don't really see what is this team aiming to do. Beal's out. Like, what is the goal? Because I feel like they're gonna sit in this 10 to 12 spot. Like last season, they were what 12 seed. So I
mm,
feel like they're not improving at all, and they have talent on the
yeah.
roster.
And also, I think last season as well, Bradley Beal, he elected to get maybe surgery or something that
Yeah,
caused him
he
to
did.
miss the rest of the season.
And even that, like, I just don't understand like what this organization is doing. Like to me, it doesn't make sense. I just want to hear your take on it.
Yeah, and then we'll get back to the Lakers and that trade that happened. I definitely
Yeah,
want to talk about that a little bit. But I gave them a C. I thought, for me personally, I expected them to be here. I
yeah,
wasn't kind of
same.
expecting them to be a higher C. I think you had a little higher expectations, am I
Yeah, I
correct,
did actually.
for the Wizards?
Yeah, I
But
did.
the
Yeah.
one thing I could say, the one positive that's coming out of this, yes, they're struggling, and they're still in the playing race. I think they could still make a playoff push potentially. But Kuzma, he's shown he could be the second best player on the team. I mean, the
Yeah.
man is averaging 22 points, 7.6 rebounds, 4 assists, 45.9 percent from the field. He's been very good. Porzingis, he's been averaging similar numbers. I think he's averaging about 20 plus points. So they have the talent, they have the scoring punch. I just think it's about meshing up and bringing the pieces together because they have the talent. Definitely Kuzma, definitely is coming in probably for a huge payday soon or something because he's been playing really good. And
Yeah.
I think he was with the Lakers and he had a huge part of coming off the bench, but him coming to Washington, I think has been the best thing for his career. He's been spectacular. Feels like he's been just been able to flourish. Like you've seen guys like Markkinen. It was in a Cleveland situation where he was kind of the back, like a third, fourth, backup,
Yeah.
like
I
not
think he's
the
playing
main
small forward
option.
actually.
Goes to Utah, he's balling. So it's kind of cool to see these kind of players that have the potential. You put him in a situation, and Bradley Beal's been there, but he was on and off. But Kuzma
Mhm.
just recently against the Knicks, he put up a really good performance. So and they won the game. So yeah, you were gonna say something?
I say yeah. I think like you said with Laurie, I think Laurie was even playing small forward and
Yeah, he was
for
playing. They were playing like a big lineup, but it was kind
yeah
of get
gas.
clowned of that lineup.
Yeah,
But
it
eventually, that
was.
lineup became scary though
Yeah, but it
after
was
some
actually very
time.
effective. Funny enough.
Yeah, it was effective, but it got clowned though, like in the beginning. But it was very effective defensively. It was very good lineup. But yeah, So yeah, I gave them a C. I think they can still turn it around, but definitely I just felt like average because I guess I expected them, for me personally, to kind of be in this kind of range or being in the race. But yeah, before we move on, yeah, I wanted to know like if you had to give like a grade 8 or F, this like for the Lakers getting Hachimura and for the Wizards getting none, what would you grade it like for both
Each
teams?
team, um, I guess I'd give the Wizards. Uh, I'd say C, maybe C minus, because I feel like he's one. Like I said, I think he's one of the better young players on the roster. I think he has high
Hmm.
potential, like, and he has a really good ceiling. But I guess with Kuzma's, ascension, I feel like him being there would just take away minutes from Kuzma, I guess, which I gotta make sense. And I guess the Lakers getting rid of Nunn, which is a player, was he in the rotation much? I really don't know, honestly.
He was, but they have a lot of guards.
Yeah,
Reeves
so I
is
guess
hurt
getting
right
rid
now,
of,
but they have
yeah,
yeah.
so I guess getting rid of Nunn takes a guard out of the rotation, gets another big man, which I guess they need, and Rui's a versatile player. So I think the Lakers, they get a B plus for me.
Yeah. So for me, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna give the Wizards like a B plus.
Okay,
For the reason that I'm not like I think there's one thing that they don't really have a true point guard. They have some good players. Monte Morris is good.
is
And I
Nunn
think
a point
Kendrick Nunn
guard
we
though?
saw he when he was like they have another guard level. I think yeah,
Okay,
he
yeah,
plays
that's
a point.
true.
Yeah, you could agree that he's more of a scoring kind of.
Yeah,
He has
yeah,
more of a scoring punch when it comes to playing. But when he was in Miami and he had a chance to start, had a very effective season. But then he ended up going to the Lakers. I think it was because well, I already assumed the Lakers were going to win maybe have a team to
yeah.
win the title. So I think a lot of people ended up taking pay. He took a pay cut. He could have got a lot more money if he would have signed somewhere
Yeah,
else
that's
at the
true.
time because he came off a very high season in Miami. Ended up going to the Lakers. It obviously didn't formula. He was hurt the whole year. It didn't formalize as planned. And then this season he's playing decent. But I think for the Wizards, I think the main reason Hachimura and Kuzma kind of play the same position. It feels like they're completely invested in Kuzma as their forward player because he's been spectacular. Because they already have Porzingis, so if you want Porzingis to play the four, Kuzma at the three, then Hachimura comes off the bench. So this might be a good move for Hachimura because we would expect him to start potentially. Not too sure yet.
Mm.
So I gave I would say the Wizards B plus for the Lakers. I mean, I gotta give it. I know it's not a like people would call it like this is a move that changes them because it doesn't. It doesn't put them in like, in my opinion, a contender, right? We don't expect that. But
Yeah,
just the move in itself, I think
it's
I give it
progress,
a
right?
like a B plus. I think it's a
Yeah,
good move. You know, they have a lot of guards. Kendrick Nunn was great for them, but they have a lot of guards. So the
that's
move
true.
makes sense, right? Like to get Hachimura, another guy who's versatile. He could score 13. He's not like people are saying he's a bust and that he's not a scrub. He can play, right? So I think I like the addition. He's going to bring some more versatile, have another forward because they have a lot of guards. So I think for both teams, it kind of benefits. So I kind of give them the same grades. I don't think like either team has really won the trade. That's how I look at it. Because Kendrick
Yeah.
Nunn this season was averaging, I think, like well, he came off the bench, so his numbers are less, but career wise, he averages 13 for his career. So he's a good player.
What do the Wizards gain out of trading him? Like he's one of the like I
I'm
said, he's one of the better young
yeah.
players. Like you're not a win now team. You're not.
Yeah.
There's no rush
Yeah. I
to
think
fill a
it's more
spot.
with Kuzma, like, because maybe he knows like
Yeah,
he's
but
not
there's no
gonna be a starter.
guarantee Kuzma's even going to re-sign.
I think he will because he's playing good and I'm pretty sure they'll pay him the money.
You don't think he would
But he's
that
also
you?
still under contract. I think he still has a contract. He still got like a year, maybe. I'm
I
not
mean
too
that's
sure
true,
though.
but when his time comes up, don't you think that he'll want to play for a better team like a contender maybe?
Not too sure because sometimes maybe it's probably possible the Wizards can offer him the most money, and
Yeah,
if
that's
they do, a
true.
lot of times he might take. And he's playing good there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
He's having
yeah,
a kind of
that's
a
true. That's
career
fair.
season. So that's
That's
that's kind
fair.
of how I kind of look at it. But it's an interesting thing. I mean, it's interesting the trade. It kind of didn't expect it came out of the blue. I would say that
Yeah,
kind of
literally
trade.
out of nowhere.
Yeah. But we'll see. Obviously, the trade deadline is coming up, so we definitely have those discussions. We're probably expecting more trades to happen. So let's move on. Number 10, we got the Chicago Bulls, who are currently uh my bad. Did you hear that ring?
Wait,
Good.
from me or from you?
From me, because my dad called. I just put it on airplane mode.
No, but just reset anyway, like just in
Okay,
case.
okay. So at number 10, we got the Chicago Bulls, who are uh currently 22 and 25.
Um, I'm gonna give this team a C minus. Uh, I know Lonzo's literally out. I think this entire season he's been missing some last season too. I think he's one of the best players. I think he's a very key piece for this team, the offense especially. This is literally the
Playmaking
worst.
defensively, yep.
Yeah, literally on both sides of the ball. This is literally the worst 3 point shooting team in the NBA. and that's kind of not surprising when you're led by DeMar DeRozan, who's known for not taking threes. No offense to him, I mean, no shots, but that's literally a fact.
Yeah, he's
It's
a
a
midi
fact.
guy though. He's a
Yeah,
he's a
yeah,
s- he's
yeah.
a
He's
mid range
one of the best
specialist.
mid-range shooters in the
Yeah.
league, if not the best. But that's just the facts. And you pair him with Zach Levine, who was a talented guard, but injuries have plagued him for his career. So I feel like this team is heading downward, not upward. Like I feel like they're on a slope and they're going down. You have an aging DeRozan, and whose main game is slashing, driving to the paint, hitting mid ranges, and you have a injury prone Levine, who's on a big contract at that. So I don't understand like where they're headed. When Lonzo come back next season or whenever he comes back, sure they can be better, but like what's the peak for this team? I feel like that year, what year was it when they were like a really high seed, or was it
I mean,
last season when
last
they were?
season they were six. That was the
Yeah,
highest
so
they
I guess
went.
last I feel like I don't know if they can get better than that, honestly, because the way I'm seeing it, the future's not looking too bright for the Bulls. Sorry, Bulls fans, but I don't know. That's just me. So what do you think?
Yeah, I kind of gave them a worse rating than you. I gave them a D this
Yeah,
season. I think last season,
I agree
even
with
though,
that.
yeah, like last season, I think they had more injuries because Zach LaVine missed a lot of time. Lonzo was gone, for a good part of the season. So, and DeRozan was just kind of, let's be honest, carrying. He was doing an exceptional job playing at a superstar level, carrying
Yeah,
in the team. But this season, Zach LaVine is there, Vucevic is there, DeRozan is there. They
yeah,
have their pieces. They added Drummond. They've added some good players like Dragic. Um, so I think they took a step back, but I still think they could turn around. They got a good team, and they were. The thing is, yeah, Alonso's a very right. He's a very important piece. But since last season, they kind of not. They didn't have him for a long period of time.
yeah,
I didn't kind of take that into account. Obviously, Lonzo comes, that elevates them. We got to see how he plays because obviously the injury concern for Lonzo is still there, and I don't
yeah,
think it was expected to be this bad. But I'm hoping Lonzo recovers quickly because we know how important of a player he is for this franchise. But they definitely took a step back. But they could, like I said, they have the talent to do it. But it's surprising they have three guys, and for some, the thing with the Bulls is so interesting. Their record against these top tier teams is good. Like they're
yeah.
beating Boston, like they have
It's so
beaten
weird,
these
right?
top tier teams, have a good record. But for some reason, when they play these, of course, no offense, the teams that they're expected to beat, they lose all those games. So it's very
Yeah,
interesting. It's clear that they can compete with the best, but when it comes with overall record, that's why they're 3 games under 500. I don't know what's the formula going on there. What's cooking up there in Chicago that they can't figure out a way to beat the teams that they should. So it's very interesting. But again, I didn't expect. I'm not having them as contenders, but I did expect them to be a little bit better. Uh, but we'll see what happens. So let's move on. Number 9, got the Indiana Pacers, who are currently 24-25.
A plus, the maximum rating, whatever is the highest rating. This team gets it. I mean, what a story this season. I mean, Halliburton coming in, arguably the best playmaker in the league. One could argue in the guard position, I'd say. But literally, this team is literally surprising everyone. They're playing good basketball, and they're just fun to watch. I think that's the thing. Rick Carlisle coming from Dallas. I mean, I believe this is his second stint in Indiana. Is it?
Second year, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, his second year in Indiana. I mean, he's showing that he has the ability to develop a team. Halliburton's playing well. Miles Turner's playing well. Buddy Hield is playing well. Even Benedict Mathurin, who some say is a sleeper for Rookie of the Year, he's playing good too. I
He
feel like this is a
really
great
is. He's
young team.
balling.
Last season, they were, I think, what 13th? Yeah, last season they were 13th, and this is a big jump for them. They're headed in the right direction. Good young team, great young talent, and yeah, they're headed up in the right direction. So congrats to them. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, 100% agree. A plus. I mean, obviously, people, you might be surprised. Given a 19 A plus, there was no expectation that they'd be here. Thought they were kind of rebuilding. That's what kind of the thought was, and now they're in the playoff mix. They got a shot at it. They found their guy Tyrese Halliburton, absolutely spectacular. This season we just talked about it recently. That's why we both have him on the All Star team, right?
Yeah,
To make it, because he's been spectacular. He's averaging over 10 assists. The man's playmaking ability is exceptional, and also Benedict, like you were saying, he's been balling. He's been a great pickup, sleeper pick definitely for Rookie of the Year. If it wasn't probably for Pablo, he probably could win it. He's been nothing but spectacular. And yeah, this kind of I think and Rick Carter's doing an exceptional job with this team, kind of bringing the best out of them. They got Tyrese, Buddy Hield, Miles Turner. They got a good mix. I know Buddy and Miles been a lot in the trade rumors, but they have a really good mix of a team right now, and the chemistry, everything works. So I know they've been on recently on losing streak, but still, it's very impressive for them to have this kind of record at this time. They're a very good team, and they're fun to watch. Tyrese has been absolutely spectacular, and he definitely deserves to be an all-star. So, okay, so let's move on. Number 8, we got the Atlanta Hawks, who are 24-24 currently.
Um, I'm gonna give this team a D. I mean, uh, with the addition of Dejounte Murray, I expected them to take a not a leap, but be better. I know last season I think they were 8th seed as well. So I
Yeah, they
mean, not
got
too much of
bounced in
a
the they
yeah,
lost I think in the first round to Miami, but they were
yeah.
9 seed, but
I believe
then
so. Yeah,
they had to go through the play-in and they won both games.
yeah. So not obviously too different right now, but I expect them to be a bit better. Like obviously defensively they've taken a jump because of Dejounte's ability, but I feel like offensively, like the impact that I expected like these two playing together to have, it's not really there. And I feel like that I don't know, maybe it'll take some more time, but how much more time do you need before the playoffs? All Star break is on the way, and I feel like I just feel like it's not meshing the way I thought it would mesh. Like I feel like they are a good duo potentially, but I'm not seeing it really on the court. And the Johns Collins issue, I feel like he's been in trade talks for the last 2 seasons, so I don't know what they're doing. I feel like this team can be better. I feel like they should be better based off the roster. They have a lot of talent on the roster, but it's just not coming into fruition. And granted, an 8 seed isn't even bad, but just from my expectations personally, I thought this team would be better than they are. So what do you think?
Yeah, I gave them a D as well. I thought, when they were the 9 seed, but they were the 8 seed when they got into the playoffs. They
Yeah,
lost. When you add a guy like DeJounte Murray, based on players, they didn't really give up a lot, but they gave up a lot of picks to get him. So they did mortgage, I feel like, their kind of picks and a little bit of the future, in a sense, and gave it all up for this guy, DeJounte Murray, knowing that he was an all-star, one of the best two-way players in the game.
yeah,
Had a spectacular season in San Antonio that last year. You expect them to be better. You definitely think they should be a higher seed because they have the talent. Talent-wise, they could compete with anybody in the East, but with this record, it's kind of disappointing. You expect them to take a leap with DeJounte, and it feels like they haven't done that yet. Recently, they've kind of been on a win streak, and I definitely feel like they could turn it around because they got the talent, but it's been a little disappointing. Then you had the Trey Young and Nate McMillan kind of situation that happened. So I don't know how much that was affected, but it's unfortunate. But they definitely could turn it around. But I think definitely a lot of people expected them to be far better, especially you, Josh. I know you had a lot of high
yeah. I
hopes
did.
for Atlanta this season, as you are a member of the Atlanta Hawks now.
I'm not.
Wait, did you say you are? My bad, I didn't hear that
I'm
clearly.
not.
Okay, come on, say it. I know you want to say it.
I'm not. I knew it was coming. Not saying it.
All right, let's move on to the team that I was right about from day one. The New York Knicks, currently 26-23. What is your rating? And it shouldn't be nothing less than what I expect.
Well, if what you expect is a B plus, then yeah, we agree.
What?
So,
What? You have to explain yourself.
I
Go
mean,
ahead. My bad. Go
listen,
ahead.
bro. I'm gonna give them a B plus. Like I said, I mean, yes, this
Okay.
team
Okay.
was
I need a
11th seed
reason.
last season. Um, you're making me laugh. Okay, yes, this team was 11th seed last season, and I mean, like, I feel like the addition of Jalen Brunson, like, I thought initially he wouldn't have this big of an impact, but he proved me wrong. He's playing all star level. I think he should be all star alongside Randall, who was also bounced back from a last season where he didn't perform as well as maybe fans thought he should. So to me, they both should be all stars. They're playing at a pretty high level. They're good offensively and defensively. And there is, some issues with, I'd say, inconsistency because I feel like they could play better consistently. And, I just feel like
Okay.
this team is playing really good. Even compared to last season, they took a big jump. I'll give them B plus because I feel like they can be a bit better. I mean, 7th seed for this New York team, I feel like with the players they have and the way that they're stringing together some wins, I feel like B plus is a fair rating. Like it's not like an A like an Indiana
Okay.
situation where like
Uh,
they turned it
mhm.
around because I feel like last season was off season because the season before they were in the playoffs. So I feel
Okay.
like this is
Okay.
just a B plus rating is fair. I know you're gonna say
Also,
A plus. So
but before I continue with the Knicks, I just want to say, uh, again, Danny was the one who kind of provided us
yeah,
this
shout out Danny,
topic.
man.
So shout out Danny. It obviously I know he wanted to be here. It didn't work out, but um, yeah, he's the one who kind of gave us the idea. So we appreciated Danny, and yeah. So and of course the Knicks, I have to give them an A plus. My expectations were very high for the Knicks. I had them being a potential top 6 seed, which I am currently on the right track, but Um, Based on everybody's expectation, reading these like the Instagram and Twitter, everything like that, the expectation was the Knicks. A lot of people didn't expect them. They thought, oh, they probably not gonna make the playoffs. Maybe they will. It's not like you definitely did not have high expectations. The reason I'm giving the A
Yeah,
plus based on
I
people's
didn't.
expectations, they've been exceeding people's expectations. They beat a lot of good teams this season. You know, they beat Atlanta. They beat just the Cavs yesterday. So they've beaten a lot of good teams. Jalen Brunson's been absolutely spectacular for them. I said his addition would be great when you play with a guy like Luka. You know, he obviously Luka deserves to be ball dominant because he's special. You know, that's gonna obviously not allow Jalen Brunson to get the touches. He now he's running the offense. He's I feel like organized the New York Knicks offense, and he's an elite playmaker. I think he's proven that. A very good playmaker. He's playing like an all-star. Then Randall, the guy we saw 2 years ago, has basically come back. And I think now, of course, that goes credit to Randall as well for bouncing back. But I think as well, Brunson coming to the Knicks allowed like kind of Randall more freedom because now, you know, before he's facing a lot of double teams, the defense is different. Now with Brunson, there's a guy that he draws a lot of attention. He can get people going, allow, you know, give Randall the ball in the post. So Brunson addition has, I think, tremendously helped the Knicks and made them a far better team that they were. And that's why I think they deserve an A plus because a lot of people were criticized. Why would you trade your pick for Brunson, this and that? But he's a young player. He's actually very young. So I think that based on what people said and that, I think they deserve an A plus. But obviously, could they play better? Yeah, but a lot of people, especially you, a lot of people said they're not going to make the playoffs, this and that. And Brunson has looked like the star that I seen he could have been, but based on that, he's definitely exceeded probably 99% of people's expectations of like saying that he was going to be this good because he's playing at an all-star level. And number 6, the Miami Heat, who are currently 27 and 22.
Um, I'm gonna give them a C, C plus maybe at max. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna restart. I'm gonna give them wait. I'm gonna give them a C. I mean, last season they were the one seed. Um, Surprisingly at that, honestly, because I don't think they even have the genuine talent to be a one seed, and that's not nothing to take away from them. But I feel like when you compare them to other top teams in the East, honestly,
Ray
no,
Allen
honestly,
for 3.
if you
Splash.
this guy, but if you compare them to the other top teams in the East, like on paper, they really don't compete, and that's nothing to knock them, but I feel like last season, I feel like they played really, really good basketball. Now they're playing, I feel like, which is around the level that they should be playing at. So expectation wise, I give them a C because last season they showed people that they're better than they look on paper, and then this season they go drop back to, I guess, not reality, but to me why I picture them being like,
Okay.
and honestly, so and they're pretty good defensively. We know that Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, led by those two, and I feel like the team is just okay. I mean, there's nothing much I can say. They are a playoff team. I'll say that. How far they go, I don't know, but yeah. Well, what's your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, looking at them right now, I gave them a D. I think last season they were the one seed, so they definitely fell back a lot. They definitely lost some players. They lost PJ Tucker, but obviously they still have the talent. Jimmy Butler's an all-star,
Yeah,
a superstar caliber player. Bam Adebayo's the guy. If he takes that next step, he has superstar potential. I just saw the game, I think, against Boston. He played out of his mind. If he plays like that consistently, they're a real team. But as it stands right now, they're a very good team, but they're definitely not the team that I saw last year, which were contenders. But can they improve? Yes. They have a good team. They're always going to be tough to beat. They're Miami. That's their culture. That's the way they play. But yeah, I think they're still based on what they were last season. They definitely took I think a huge step back, and we'll see if they can turn it around. But also very cool movement. I saw it was a fan who I think flew from very far. I don't know if you saw it, Josh, and
no, I didn't
like
see it.
he found out that Jimmy Butler wasn't gonna play, so he was upset. And then the Miami he did it right. They gave him a signed jersey, and he eventually met Jimmy Butler. So super cool, and shout out to Miami for doing something super kind like that. It's cool to see that he met his favorite player. All right, number 5, we're going with the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're 29 and 20 currently.
So Cavs, I'm gonna give them I'm gonna give them a B plus. I feel like this team is really, really good. Last season they were the ninth seed. So yes, this is a pretty good jump with the additions of Donovan Mitchell. I think this is literally a perfect fit for the team. They're playing really good basketball. Garland, with his passing, his assists, Evan Mobley defensively is doing good along with Jared Allen. I feel like they have a good core, and I feel like they're heading in the right direction. B plus. I mean, like I said, I don't really think that like this is a progression that I kind of expected, honestly. So I'm not gonna say A plus. To me, A plus is more like a like a surprise or like I expected this team to go like and improve. So I give them B plus because it's nothing crazy. I don't think like happened here. So I give them a B plus.
Mhm. I went with an A plus. I think is the fact that what they were last season. I feel like they are playing far better than what people might have expected. They knew they had the talent, but was it going to work? And there was time Garland missed some time, and Donovan Mitchell, took over. They were even higher at a time. I don't know what exactly. Maybe they're third or fourth, or maybe even second. I'm not too sure. But Donovan Mitchell looks like the superstar. He does not. In Utah he was great, but he looks like a whole different player here. Definitely like averaging 30. If he has to be a playmaker, can give those 10 dimes. He's been absolutely spectacular for them. And Mitchell's addition to this franchise has been absolutely great. They have a lot of great players. So I think and they're a team that whether you believe they're contenders or not sure, but they have the team, man. Like they have the team to make a really deep run. They're very talented. And we'll see what happens. It's really nice to see Garland, Mitchell. They got Jared Allen, Mobley. I mean, the defense that they got with the offensive firepower. I mean, it's just scary. At number four, the Brooklyn Nets, who are currently 29-17.
I'm gonna give them a B. Honestly,
Interesting.
they are the fourth seed, right? You said.
Yeah, 40.
So yeah, they are fourth seed. I mean, last season they were seventh seed, but that was a pretty interesting season to say the least.
Yep, that's the
But
right word to use.
to say the least, yeah, interesting. But yeah, they've obviously gotten a bit better. They've gotten rid of Nash, which I agree with 100%. Shout out Steve Nash though. Um, they
This
also
guy.
they also they also promoted Jacques Vaughn from assistant coach to head coach, which I think was a good move. And I feel like they're playing better. They're pretty good offensively, defensively. Ben Simmons, who is playing okay, I think he should be more aggressive on both sides of the ball. Honestly, he's supposed to be this team's best defensive player and playmaker, and I feel like he's lacking in both areas. Honestly,
Mhm.
Kevin Durant is out at the moment, which we know. Uh, this leads to Kyrie kind of picking up the slack and leading the team offensively, which I
And
think
Ben
is.
Simmons should be stepping up as well.
I agree. Ben Simmons should be stepping up. He's playing extremely passive, and he's not the player that he once was in Philly. Even though the question should be asked, will we ever see that player again? I don't think so.
Hmm.
But yeah, B for me. Hopefully, without Katie, they can string together some wins. I feel like Jacques Vaughn is a talented coach, and it's a nice change of pace from the Nash era. From that Nash era. So what would you say?
This guy. Uh, I'm surprised your rating. I was expecting your rating to be higher. I gave the Nets an A plus.
Really,
I think you might be shocked. I think it's because
really?
what the way they started this season. Obviously, they were 1-5. They had a
Yeah,
lot of things
that's
going on.
true.
The Kyrie
Nash effect, man.
situation, and then like everything was going bad. A lot of people when this before the season started, KD's whole drama. So a lot of people said, "Man, this team is a bust." They were talking about all this stuff and everything like that. That oh maybe they can, but then all the questions came. Kyrie, does he want to play? Kyrie. It feels like it was just a media attack for both of these players, mostly Kyrie.
Yeah,
And then you have Ben Simmons. That's even more drama that came with it. Um, and then once they fired him, and then they had Jacques Vaughn. I feel like the game against Washington where they blew out the Wizards in Katie's hometown by like 42. I think that really changed their season. They just locked into basketball. Then they started playing really good, and then boom, like they turned it around. Like now people look at them and now that's a contending team. This is the team we envisioned a few years back. It just never worked because a lot of injuries or this happened or this player couldn't play. There was so much things going on. So it feels like Jock Vaughn coming here brought some stabilization. The team just focused on basketball and everybody's bought in and they have good players. The whether you could say about the GM, Sean Marks, I think he's done a great job bringing in great players. Royce O'Neal has been a great fit. The trade that they made to get him.
yeah, it's true.
TJ Warren, he made his debut late. He's been looking great. They still have Seth. They have Patty Mills. They have Nick Claxton. They have a lot of good pieces, and I think he's done a great job bringing in the pieces. The problem is that those pieces have never, like with those stars, not been able to play consistent. Has been in and off, but now they've been really good. I think the thing is we'll see how it goes, but they look like a contending team, so gotta be excited when KD comes back. Let's see how they can play, but obviously Kyrie's been spectacular. I mean, against Utah and then Golden State. So I think the thing is Kyrie's gonna have to keep doing his thing, but I think Ben Simmons definitely has to step up, and they got some other players too. I mean, who stepped up. Royce O'Neal has been really good. I love that pickup for them. Uh, at number three, we got the Milwaukee Bucks who are 30-17.
I'm gonna give them a B. I mean, obviously Middleton has been out for a big chunk of the season. They're still playing well. Giannis is obviously putting up great numbers. They're defensively pretty solid, and I think that a B is fine for them. I mean, obviously the Middleton, who's their second best player, arguably isn't available. So I mean, they're doing the best that they can right now. And I feel like a B is a fair rating.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I gave them an A. I think it's just kind of expected. Like, I expected them to be a top C,
Yeah,
and this team really can't really assess them as like how what this team can be. If they could potentially win the championship again, is until Chris Middleton comes back. We know he came back, then he's been out again. So this team is really gonna be assessed when Chris comes back. But obviously, they're still playing really good basketball. And yeah, so once Chris comes back, we'll really know this team. But obviously, Chris makes them better. You could. I mean, I don't know. Josh agrees with me now, but I believe if Chris Middleton was playing in the Boston series, I think that might have been a whole different series.
I mean, yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
fair.
this team, like I said, we'll see when Chris comes back. But they're just kind of expected. You kind of expect them to be a top three seed. That's just who Milwaukee is. That's the standard right now. Milwaukee has always been since Giannis has been playing there. Number two, we got the Philadelphia 76ers. They're currently 30-18.
I'll give them a B plus. I feel like this team is really good. Harden's still playing at a solid level. Embiid playing at an MVP level again. Will he win it? I don't think so. Max, he's also playing great. And I feel like the offense is coming together along with the defense. They're playing good on both sides of the ball. And B plus is where I expected them to be last season. I believe they were fourth seed. So this is a decent like
Yeah,
jump.
fourth. Yeah.
This is a decent jump for them. And I feel like if they keep this track up, they can be very scary come playoff time. So what's your thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah, I actually give them an A plus. I'm giving out good ratings, I guess, very high ratings. But I think James, he really. I feel like I've seen glimpses of the old James Harden. I don't know what people agree with that, but I've seen it when his first game against Boston. I don't know what he did, man. He just dropping people on the floor. Um, Joe Embiid looks like the best center in the East. I know. I said East for a reason. We know who the best is right now. No
Yeah, I
knock on
agree.
Embiid. Some people believe it's Joel, but I still think it's Joker best center. But Embiid is the best center in the East by far. MVP always candidate, but will he win it? That's interesting. Uh, the benches got better. I love the addition of DeAndre Melton. Maxi just keeps getting better and better. They have a very good team. Doc River, Coach of the Year candidate, is doing a spectacular job there. They're the second best team in the East, and I think based on people's expectation, maybe people thought, oh, maybe it might be Brooklyn or Boston up there, maybe some other teams, but they've been number two, and they look like maybe the team to beat in the East. I think people believe that's Boston, but they look very formidable. And for Philly, their season's going to be assessed on playoffs. We know that. There's always pressure when you play for Philly. But yeah, I think they've been having a phenomenal season. But it's nice to see all the pieces they got. They're very talented, like very talented. Number one, we got the Boston Celtics, who are currently 35-14.
I'm giving this team an A. My expectations, as you know, I did not have them this high, especially with all the Udoka stuff that went on. That situation. I thought that they were gonna take a dip because I feel like his coaching was on their level, which it is. But obviously, Joe Muzala has stepped in and filled his shoes pretty well. He has Tatum playing at an MVP level. Jalen Brown is also playing consistently, and they're one of the best offensive in the league, in my opinion. I think they're a solid defense as well. They have a lot of young talent. Last season they were second seed, I think, and I feel like
Yeah,
they're playing really good. And yeah, A for me. What would you give them?
I give them A plus. I mean, kind of similar here,
Yeah,
but A plus. Obviously, again, you had the whole Adoka situation, kind of a lot of drama brought into the Boston organization. And Joe Masula was kind of put into a tough situation. And he's done an absolute phenomenal job. He's definitely Coach of the Year candidate. They're the best team in the East. Jason Tatum playing at MVP level, Jalen Brown playing at the All Star level that we know he can play at. Robert Williams, Al Horford, all the pieces they got. Derek White, the addition of Brogdon, I think it was a huge piece. He's been playing great. So yeah, they just kind of, I think definitely over expectation because you thought maybe they drop a little bit, but Joe Masula in Boston is not happening. They're still that top team that we know they are, and they look like, right now you could argue they look like the best team in the Eastern Conference. So it's a definitely they've definitely been phenomenal. Now we're moving on to the Western Conference. Let's start with the 15 seat Houston Rockets, 11-36.
I give them standard C. I mean, I kind of expected them to be here. Jalen Green, talented player. Jabari Smith, who they just drafted, I think he's showing some promise. He's a solid player too. Sagoon, I think, is a really talented player. I think he's one of their best players actually. But this is what I expect them to be. Like they're not a good team. Obviously, they're rebuilding and they're developing their young players. So I expected it to be. I expect them to be exactly where they are. So I'll just say standard C.
Yeah, I agree with you. I give them a standard C again. It's kind of we're going based on expectations. Again, if we're gonna give low seats all Fs, then it's kind of not really assessing it. You know what I'm saying? So like obviously this was the expectation. We expect them to be rebuilding. I like they pick up Jabari Smith, definitely a player for the future. But they have a lot of good talent. Jalen Green has been very great for them, but kind of expected. I mean, I think that's really how. I don't think there's really much to be said after that. It's just really expected, them to be in this kind of situation currently. Number 14, we got the San Antonio Spurs, 14-33 currently.
I'm giving them a B. Yes, we're
I mean,
losing
they
a lot
have
of
been playing pretty
games.
good, decent.
Um, yes, we are a rebuilding team. Yes, we are tanking allegedly, but I feel like we're still playing good basketball. We're still playing good basketball. Keldon Johnson is developing really well. He's averaging like 21 points, I think. Devin Vassell, I think, is also progressing. He's hurt at the moment. So there's the issue with that. Jeremy Sohan, I think, is a gem. I think he's an extremely talented player, and he will be, in my opinion, one of the best defensive players in the NBA one day. Maybe that's a stretch. Maybe it's a stretch, but let's see. I feel like even though we're losing games, we're still playing good basketball. We're still being competitive. I think that's the best sign for young teams that are developing.
36
So
by Kawhi, though. Just remember that.
very quiet, by the way, but
Very quiet. How you drop
very
36,
quiet,
but
by
it's
the way.
quiet?
But like I was saying, I think
I'm not
that
disrespecting Sohan. I
we're
know he's a good player.
yeah. But like I was saying, I think even though we're losing, we're playing good basketball. We're competitive. We're close in these games, and I feel like that's the best thing. And hopefully, this season will be like the past memory when we do get Victor Wembanyama with the first overall pick in this upcoming draft.
Well, that's your hope as Spurs fans. You never know. Henderson could be on the board. But
Not
anyways,
hope. I
uh,
know.
okay. Yeah, I forgot you work for the Spurs organization. But anyways,
I'm tapped in.
for me, I gave them a C. It's kind of expected. They're rebuilding, but they have a lot of good young talent. Kendall Johnson is he's gotten better and better. I think their best player right now. Vassell has been phenomenal. Sochan is still developing. He got potential, and I don't know if Josh is going to agree with me. I still think they were. I don't know now, but I feel like they were trying to find their Kawhi, the guy who can be
I agree. Yeah,
that kind of player.
100%
Maybe
agree.
they believe
Actually,
Sochan can be because he has the defensive ability. Definitely has to develop that offensive game, but that comes with time. Kawhi came in with just a defensive mindset.
yeah,
And I remember that interview he said with DeJounte when he told DeJounte, he said, man, if you want to be on the floor, especially in San Antonio, you just got to focus on the defense and the offense will come. Because then when you're on the court, you got to play offense. So that was an
yeah.
interesting thing by DeJounte when he talked about that. But yeah, it's kind of expected. Let's go to number 13, the Los Angeles Lakers, who are currently 22-26.
I'm gonna give the Lakers a C minus. I mean, they're playing decent basketball. I mean, obviously Anthony Davis has been out for a good chunk of the season, so I'm gonna consider that when I do the rating. Westbrook has been excelling, I think, in his bench role. So I think he's playing that role better. I mean, I think he's playing better basketball. Um, LeBron's obviously still dominating, which he will be doing until I think he retires, which is I don't know when that's happening. But this season's kind of shown that it's not Westbrook. Like it's not Westbrook wasn't the issue. He was a part of the issue, but it wasn't him alone. His new role, the team is still struggling. So I feel like C minus is fair. I mean, expectations is what I thought they'd be. They're not really one of the better teams in the West, but with the trade for Rui Hachimura, let's see how it impacts their season.
I guess I gave a pretty harsh rating. I gave them an F.
Oh damn.
Um, I think it's because, like, for me personally, I kind of had them making the playoffs this season, still being in the play-in, but have making the playoffs. And it took, I think, I mean, technically last season were they the same? I'm not too sure, but I thought I was expecting a little better. Like, I didn't think they would miss the playoffs. They're in the. I mean, they might not still, but they're 13th right now. They look like pretty bad. Like, that you have LeBron. He's putting up big numbers, and like again against the Clippers yesterday, he put up 46. I mean, he absolutely smoked us. But the Clippers ended up blowing out the Lakers, and that has a lot to do with the it's just I think the roster they definitely need 3-point shooters, and I mean I think they're one of the worst 3-point shooting teams, right? So um it's been tough, but I think I expected them to be like eighth or ninth, and then for be 13, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little surprised. Even when they even had 80, I think there was a time they started the season with like 1-8. So like even when they had 80, like it's I think they haven't been performing well. I mean, I guess maybe I'll push it up to D. Maybe it's too harsh. Still expect them to be a lower C, but maybe not this low. But We know the Lakers have a lot of pressure. They're one of a very they're a historical franchise. When you play for the Lakers, you're on a LeBron James team. You're expecting a lot. So I'm not sure what's going to happen, but the Lakers need to make some big moves ASAP. Hachimura is a start, but you got to make some big pieces because LeBron, I mean, he's all about winning. At number 12, we got the Trailblazers 22 and 25.
I'm gonna say standard C. I mean, this is what I thought they'd be. This team is really just a average team. I don't think anything is too special about this team. I do have some talent: Jeremy Grant, Lillard, obviously, Anthony Simons, Gary Payton, but I'm not seeing anything here. Honestly, I mean, last season they were 13th, so I mean, yeah, I'm not seeing anything special here. I still don't understand what uh this team is doing. I mean, I guess they're trying to get better, but I'm not seeing any progress. Honestly, Dame is still there. I feel like he should have been shipped out with CJ, and they should just rebuild because I don't see anything that he can do with this roster. It is good, but not good enough. So yeah, what
Yeah,
would you think?
I agree. As a standard C, kind of expected them to be in this range. They're a competitive team. I mean, they got a lot of talent. Anthony Simons is a special young player. They got, Dame is still there, Jeremy Grant, Josh Hart, but it's kind of expected. I don't think we didn't expect it. Now, if they were just like I think there was a time they were the number one seed. That was early in the season. But again, it's kind of expected. They have a good talent, but we don't see them as contenders. Maybe they'll make the playoffs. They look like they'll be in the play-in push. But yeah. At number 11, we got the OKC Thunder. They're currently 23 and 24. And I don't expect Josh to give anything but less than an A plus.
Yeah, I'm giving them an A. Honestly, I guess A plus, right? But yeah, this team is
Yeah.
playing extremely well. They're playing competitive basketball. Last season they were 14th, so that's a big leap for them, obviously. And I think Shy is playing at an MVP level. He's playing really
And they got
good,
a chance to make the
dominating teams.
playoffs. I mean, you're in the 10th
Yeah,
seat
they
playoff,
do. They can
There's
make
a
a play and
chance.
push. Josh Giddey's also playing well. So is Jalen Williams and Ludor, obviously. But this team is playing
Lou
really good
Dort's been great.
basketball.
Yeah.
And obviously, we all know that Chet Holmgren didn't even play this season. So that's a piece
I
that
know
they're
when he
missing as
comes
well. He's a
back
star. I mean, not a star, but
and all the picks
he's
that
a
they
future star.
got. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
and they have a tons of picks, stockpile picks. Shout out Clippers for that. But yeah,
No comment there.
this is a good young team headed in the right direction. So A for me, A to A plus.
Mm. I agree. I mean, A plus. I don't think there's anything less. I mean, this team we're expecting them to be again low in the standing. Vashai has been absolutely spectacular. He's not just been a star; he's been a superstar. He's playing at superstardom level, averaging 30. He's been absolutely exceptional. There's nobody on right now. It looks like anybody tries to guard him, they can't stop him. Ludor, exceptional defensively. I like their team. Coach is doing a great job, and they exceed everybody expectation. We could kind of look at them kind of like the Indiana story in a sense, right?
100%.
100%. So they've exceeded expectations. It's fun to watch. They're a fun young team to watch, and they definitely have a chance for the playoff push, play-in push. And they get in the 10th seat, 10th, ninth. You never know what happens. Play-in is now that they have the play-in, it gives more teams a chance. And the Thunder have been absolutely spectacular this season and exceeded everybody's expectations. And number 10, we got the Golden State Warriors. They're currently 23 and 24.
For this team, I'm gonna give them I don't know, like I feel like C minus. I'm gonna give the Warriors a C minus. They're playing really good basketball, but they're not really winning much. Like I know, but Curry obviously had that stretch where he was hurt for a bit. Jordan Poole's playing well. Kuminga's playing good as well. Clay is obviously working his way back. Draymond is Draymond, and yeah, there's not much to say. I mean, obviously, right now they're not where I really thought they would be, so I give them a C minus for that. Not too low, but I feel like when it comes to playoff times and it comes to crunch time, they'll make a leap, and they always play above their seating, in my opinion. So I give them a C minus.
I give them a D. I think they've not been very good. I mean, coming this season, a lot of people expect them to be a lot higher. Defensively, they've not really been that good. I think the players that they lost, Otter Porter, Gary Payton, Juan Castano Anderson, all those pieces, Damian Lee, is definitely having a huge impact on this team because they're trying to bring Jordan Poole and Kaminga and Moody. And Jordan Poole's been playing great, but you have Moody and James. I think James Wiseman was sent back. I think to the G League's not. I think playing out as the Warriors expected, but they're being patient with it. But this is a team that, I mean, coming off a championship season, they're one of the worst road teams right now. So that's very shocking when you even have Klay Thompson and Jordan Poole. Yes, Steph Curry's missed some games, but before, they've kind of were like playing this bad. Before this season started, you probably think, oh, they'll be fine even if they don't have Curry for some games, and then you see the Nets and the Knicks absolutely giving them a very, I think, a humiliation game of just blowing them out by like over 30, 40. So I expect the Warriors to be a lot better, but of course, can they turn it around? Yeah, they got Steph, they got Clay, they got Steve Kerr, they got championship pedigree, they got it all. So I expect them to be turned off, but they've definitely been one of the more disappointing teams this season. And number 9, the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're currently 24 and 25. I want to hear uh Josh on this.
As you know, I was high on this trade. Granted, they did give up a lot to get Rudy Gobert. On
Way too
paper,
much. Let's
I
make that
did
very
think
clear.
that this would be a good fit
No disrespect though.
with the defensive ability of Gobert to cover up for the weaknesses that Karl Anthony Towns has on defense and vice versa. But from what I've been seeing from this team, the grade is an F. Honestly, this move might go down
Interesting.
as one of the worst trades I've seen in my life. Honestly, they gave up so much to get a player who is extremely limited on offense and defense, mind you, which is his calling card, his defensive ability, allegedly, by the way. But you pair him with Carthy Towns, I'm thinking this is going to be working. It's not working at all. He brings nothing to the team on offense. His defensive numbers are looking like how they should look, I guess, but it's nothing special. Him and Anthony Edwards to me do not mesh. Rudy Gobert has zero athletic ability, in my opinion. Clogs the lane, and to me, it's not a fit. And I believe Rudy Gobert said that this team was contending for a championship. That's what his goal was: championship or bust. I think he said
That was
something.
Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah, I believe like one of them said championship or bust, like you said. And it's just embarrassing to see this. How can you, with a straight face, say that this team is going to compete for anything? Because I can't see them winning anything. They might even step out the playoffs, in my opinion. This team is not good. Um, this trade is bad. I'm sorry. Rudy Gobert is not helping this team in any way, and it's looking bad for the Timberwolves, man. Honestly, I'm sorry. F, 100% F.
I think you came along. You finally came along. You joined my side, which I've been trying to say for a long time that this is one of the worst trades in NBA history. I mean, this is a F. The Minnesota Timberwolves made it to the playoffs. They were kind of a awesome kind of, I wouldn't say Cinderella story, but they made the playoffs. They were the 7th seed. They could have beat Memphis. They didn't. If they don't make the playoffs or they don't win a playoff series this season, this trade is going to be looked at. They gave up. It's not the fact that they gave up all these picks. They gave up all their like key rotation pieces. I think Josh will agree, this Patrick Beverley was a very important piece for that team, and he got
Yeah, he
traded. Then a
was.
lot of other pieces got traded. But obviously, we know Cat has been hurt. D'Lo's been on and off. Not he's not been super consistent. Edwards has been great for them this season. Rudy Gobert, I think, is just the role he expected. But I just felt like this trade, like what they had to give up, like when you have all those assets in something and you're gonna make a major move, that's why Katie getting it traded. Like this is the big reason why.
Yeah,
You're
literally
looking at
why.
what Rudy Gobert got and what they got, for and what KD, the Nets are not gonna make that trade. It's like, hey, you giving him 5 picks, but we deserve 10 or 20. At that point, obviously no team really has that many picks. So I feel like this has been a bad trade, and they're ninth. Could they still make the playoffs? Yeah, but if they don't make the playoffs, I'm telling you right now, I don't know. Like I still don't understand why this trade was made. Like you gave up so much, and Utah is the big winners here because
Yep.
even though they gave up all these pieces, they got Laurie Markkinen. They got a all-star player on their team. I know that was from the Cavs trade, but still. And I think Utah, like I said, if I was Utah management, this trade offer was given to me, I'd do it any day of the week. I just don't understand why this trade was made. I'm not disrespecting Rudy Gobert. He's a good player, but this trade just didn't make absolutely no sense. You're locked for him for 4 to 5 years. He's overpaid as well. I mean, obviously because he was eligible to get that money, but I obviously felt like he was overpaid. But anyways, we'll see what happens in Minnesota. And number 8, we got the Utah Jazz, 25 and 25 currently.
A plus. When this trade was made to get rid of Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, I thought this team was done. Done in the sense that they would be a rebuilding team, which they still are currently, but they're exceeding that expectation. They're playing well. They managed to secure an all-star from the Cavs in Lauri Markkanen, who was exceeded all expectations this season, and in my opinion, has the most improved player award on lock this season. He's taken a
Mhm.
gigantic leap. He's leading this team to good things. They're a playoff team. I mean, what can you say? Like great coaching.
And Jordan
Who's the coach
Clarkson's been
again?
phenomenal. Will Hardy.
Yeah, great coaching by Will Hardy, playing amazing basketball, and they're honestly a great team to watch. To me, one of the funner teams to watch in the league. A plus. I mean, they've excellently, perfectly pivoted from their two former stars into this new era, and I feel like it's better for them. And I feel like this team has a higher ceiling, potentially in the future than what the other duo did. So, what's your take?
I agree with you, Josh. A plus. I mean, you go from giving up your cornerstones of your franchise, Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. You get all these picks, and it looks like it's just rebuilding and possibly what it looked like. Oh, let's go get Victor. Um, the players they had Clarkson, they still had Mike Conley and all that, and Laurie Markin just took a huge leap. He's been balling out, making threes. He got a whole offensive brilliance that he can put on the court. I agree with you, most improved player potential lock. Um, and yeah, like this has just been like for Utah to find a star from that trade was just I thought incredible. And Laurie Markin, I think the big benefit when he's in Cleveland playing a small forward here has a chance to flourish, be the number one guy, and he's took that opportunity and he's been absolutely spectacular. And Will Hardy's done a phenomenal job. Obviously, I don't know if you say 8 seed deserves coach of the year, but what he's been able to do there, I think he deserves some love. He's been absolutely spectacular. Obviously, comes from a Spurs prodigy again. Spurs just have a lot of gems, man. But yeah, I got to give them an A plus. I mean, they're playing really good. They're fun to watch. They're actually just a fun team to watch. Like I want to go watch Utah, play maybe the Clippers, and you see Laurie Markin just put up brilliance. Like and Jordan Clarkson, always a 6 man of the year candidate. He's just so talented, man. Fun team to watch, man. Shout out Utah, man. So at number 7, we got the Phoenix Suns. They're currently 25 and 24.
Yeah, so this team, I'm gonna give them a D. I mean,
Mhm.
last season they were the one seed. Um, were people with expectations of them that high? I don't know, but they were playing great basketball last season. This season they kind of fell off a bit. Um, they're not playing that great. I mean, I feel like they've just regressed in a sense. Like I haven't seen much of them to warrant any other rating. They're not playing as good basketball, and it's just not the same team in my opinion. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the tension. There was that issue where DeAndre Ayton accepted the deal from the Pacers, but the Suns didn't match the offer, and now he's there. I mean, did he want to be there? I don't know. That could be contributing a bit, but I just feel like it's this team is not meshing the same. It's just something that's off, and it's you can see it clearly by the win total and where they're on the standings. So, what's your take?
uh, I think Josh being a little too kind of gave them a F. I mean,
Yeah,
they were the number one
that's
seed last
fair.
season. I know they lost in the playoffs in the second round, being up 2-0, but they were the number one seed. I mean, probably, if you ask them, they probably should have been in the finals or at least the conference finals. I mean, I didn't have high expectations for the team, but I mean, if you're the number one seed, there's definitely some expectations there. But I have to give them an F. I mean, then you see this season they completely fell off. They started off good. Obviously, I know injuries could play a role in that, but they're not the same team I think they were. And I think when it comes to the championship window, is it open? A lot of people think it's closed. I think it's closed. They have a good team. They're solid. They're competitive, but they fell off a lot, like from first to seventh. I thought maybe they'd be in fourth and fifth, like fourth seed or fifth seed. I didn't expect them to be this low. Obviously, again, they have injuries, so it's kind of expected, but they can be a fourth, fifth seed, but they look like a first round or second round exit team at best. At number 6, we got the Dallas Mavericks, who are currently 25 and 24.
I'm gonna give this team a B minus.
Okay.
Um, they're a solid team. Last season they were the fourth seed. But this team, I don't know if they know this, but Luca by himself can't take you all the way, man. I mean, he has to drop 40 points plus for him to win games, and that's not sustainable in my opinion. Yes, they do have some talent, but I feel like they gotta make use of the deadline to add some more because it's not looking too hot right now. And yes, I will admit I did not value Brunson that highly when he was at the team. He showed me different in the playoffs and he showed me different this season. But it's looking like Luca could have used Brunson this season. He needs some help scoring wise, and it's just not really looking too good for this team in the long run. Because I know Luca can keep this up, but teams are getting better, and this team is looking the exact same in my opinion. So I just want to know what's the plan for this team. Yes, I think they'll be a playoff lock in my opinion, but I don't know. Like, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I gave them a D. I thought if you look at from last season, they made it to the conference finals. They definitely took a step back. A lot of people thought, oh, they got Christian Woods. Christian Woods may be a better player than Brunson. They'll be fine. And Christian Woods not playing bad. He's putting up good numbers, but I felt like losing Brunson was big for them, and it clearly shows. Luka's been have to carry this whole offense on his back. It's been a lot of work for him. And how long is like okay, you can do this, and he'll be a playoff lock, but can he do this all playoff long? Is he capable of doing it? Yes, but as it gets to, you might think fatigue, things like that can come in a factor, like having to do this all the time. They definitely need to make some trades in Dallas because they made the conference finals, and right now they do not look conference finals material. They look like a first or second round exit team. But because you got Luka, you always got a chance. But they definitely got to, I think, make a trade or something and bring Luka some help because Luka is so talented. If you give him one all-star caliber player, like think of like a Paul George, I'm just throwing a name, right? He could win the whole thing. That's how talented he is. And number 5, okay, I want to hear Josh's thoughts because he has always some interesting takes about this team. The Los Angeles Clippers, who are currently 26 and 24.
Um, I'm gonna give this team a C. Honestly, standard C,
That's
maybe even
fair.
C minus. But because as you know, Kawhi Leonard last season, he literally was not playing last season, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I
100.
feel
Yep.
like, Ty Lue, obviously the amazing coach that he is, he's pulling stuff together. And of course, there's Kawhi playing this season, yes, but he's not playing back to backs. He's playing not limited minutes, but not as much. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like this team is good. Um, will they make some noise in the playoffs? I don't know. With Kawhi's inconsistent playing, I don't know if the chemistry will be 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But they have potential. They are obviously have one of the better rosters in the league, in my opinion. But I just don't know how it was going to mesh come playoff time. And I feel like they are a little, you know, weak when it comes to the, paint defense. Zubac is their main center. I believe he's one of two centers on the roster, I think. I'm not sure exactly, but
He's
yeah,
like
and I
really
feel
the only
like
one who plays, but yeah,
yeah,
you're
he's
right.
he's the only center in the rotation. And I feel like they should use a trade deadline to maybe get rid of some wings because they have a lot of wings. Maybe try to get a big man or some other presence to play some valuable big man minutes for them because they're known to run pretty perimeter oriented rotations, and I feel like they're a good team. That's why I thought they'd be honestly with Kawhi coming back and not playing 100%. So yeah, I'll just say C.
Josh, you'll be surprised by this. I thought you would give a worse rating than me, but I gave the Clippers a D. I think you look at what they were expected, championship kind of team. I thought they'd probably be 3 or 4th, and I knew Kawhi with not playing back to backs and stuff. But then they went on a losing streak. They didn't look good, even with all this talent that they got. Lost a lot of games. They just currently been winning 3 in a row. I think they beat Dallas, then they beat San Antonio, and then they just beat the Lakers. So, it's kind of like this season, just not what I expected. I thought it'd be a lot better, but obviously it comes down to the players not playing, chemistry in and out. Like you have to develop that, and it's just been a lot of, I think, a tough time for even Ty Lue, and Ty Lue's doing a phenomenal job, but it's hard on a coach to just kind of have different lineups all the time. We had John Wall. Now John Wall's obviously he has an injury. I think he'll be back in 2 to 3 weeks. Speedy recovery to John Wall. He's a very important player to the Clippers. So I just think the Clippers haven't really been like playing as I expected, and I think it just comes down to Kawhi and PG just having to play more and more and more together and building that chemistry because this team is very deep. And I agree with you with the Zubats is great, but we only got one center. We could definitely use another center, like a maybe Miles Turner or something like that, because when we play again, we play Denver. We have no answers for Nikola Jokic, and it looks like Denver right now is the best team in the West. So we got to be better. We got to beat, I think, our kryptonites because they own us for some reason. So yeah. At number 4, we got the New Orleans Pelicans. They're 26 and 22.
I'm giving this team an A.
Yeah.
Big improvement from last season. They were 8th seed. Zon's playing well. Ingram's playing well. And I feel like even though they have had some injury issues this season, I feel like they're still playing good basketball and they're one of the better teams in the league, in my opinion. And this team could be a threat come playoff time. I like the jump. Willie Green is a great coach. Obviously, it's been shown. And I feel like this is a great young team and they're developing extremely well. So I'll give them an A for now.
Yeah, Sam. I mean, I just gave them A plus. I mean, exceeded everybody's expectations. We know they have Zion. Zion's been playing great, all-star player right now. I think all-star starter. You have CJ McCollum's been a great trade for them since he's arrived. Brandon Ingram, obviously, I think he hasn't played that many games this season. He's had a little injury issues, but yeah, they exceed everybody's expectations. They look like a real good team in the West, a team that can give some team a problem. And yeah, they're just they look like a good team and they're fun to watch. And the Pelicans have been looking up. David Griffin, he's been doing a great job, and Willie Green as well. So this team's just been absolutely phenomenal, fun to watch. And number three, you got the Sacramento Kings. They're 27-19.
A plus,
Yep.
100% A plus. I mean,
Hmm.
what a jump, man! What a jump! This was the 12th seed last season, the 12th seed. This team has
They
taken
haven't made the
such a
playoffs in a
leap,
very long time.
literally, and I think they're.
Shout out, what's that coach's name, man? I be forgetting this the coach's
I
name
forget
too.
it too. I forget so much coach's name. Isn't it Mike? Mike Brown.
Yeah, there we go. Mike Brown. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, they're playing great basketball. Mike Brown. I mean, what a year he's having. Sabonis. I mean, people were questioning the trade because they did give up Halliburton, which I feel like both sides are benefiting from. So I feel like they're both
Not yeah,
winners.
100%. I mean, the fit is obviously way better for Fox.
Yeah, I agree. Um, Sabonis. I mean, I think he's an All Star this season. Kevin Herter, which was a great pickup. He's playing extremely well too. Um, I feel like this is a great young team. They're playing well, and this is a great jump. Shout out to the Kings fans. It's been a long time coming, but I feel like this year you will finally see the playoffs. I mean, yeah, like they're just looking really good. Like honestly, there's nothing I can say. They're looking really good. They're playing good basketball. And yeah, congrats to the Kings fans. Shout out to Bonus. I think he's an All Star this season. And yeah, shout out Mike Brown, great coach.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to, A plus. Agree with you, Mike. Brown is a coach of the year candidate. You look at Sacramento. I don't think a lot of people. I don't think I expected this at all. I thought maybe they'd definitely be a playoff team or play-in team. Be in that push. But for them to jump number three, Sabonis is looking like the best player on that team. He's been spectacular. He's, I think, one of the most underrated big mans because he's very talented. De'Aaron Fox, he's been special. He's averaging over 25. I think 24 points. The fit has been great. Obviously, I criticized the trade, and I didn't give Indiana like the Kings a bad grade. I think I gave them a C, is because they did trade for an All Star, but for it to work like this, obviously the trade is working, and it's very good. What Sacramento? Then people question it. Tyrese Halliburton, De'Aaron Fox, just I think the trade wise or not trade, but fit wise were just not good. You have a lot of guards. They also have Devon Mitchell. They just got a lot of guards. Malik Monk is there too, so they have a lot of good players and they exceeded everybody's expectation. This team has definitely been the biggest shock this season, and they've been playing absolutely spectacular basketball. And I think you're right. Kings fans will finally get, what they've been waiting for, a playoff berth for this franchise. And shout out, I think Mike Brown should be one of the favorites to be coach of the year for what he's doing currently. We got at number two, we got the Memphis Grizzlies, who are currently 31-16.
I'm gonna give this team a B plus. Their second seed last season as well. Um, Jaren Jackson is also back, so they're playing better defense. Ja is obviously playing amazing basketball. Um, his playmaking has taken a leap in my opinion. He's a little bit more consistent shooting wise, which obviously he can still improve at. But I feel like he's doing well leading this team. Desmond Bain, I think, is one of the best players on the team. Lights out shooter. He's playing very well and pretty good defensively. Some people might argue that John Morant is in the MVP talks. I mean, we'll see about that. I'm not too sure about that, but I think this team is really good, great young team, and I feel like they have a bright future out of them, in my opinion. So I give them B plus.
Yeah, I give them an A plus. I don't know if I think there's some people maybe thought they were the second seed. Maybe they fall off a little bit, but they haven't. They've been absolutely spectacular. And the number two seed, I mean, they're pretty close with Denver to be the number one seed. They did lose DeAndre Melton and not too many pieces, but they really brought back the same core. And I thought with a lot of other teams like the Clippers and all these other teams in the West, I thought they'd be a little down ranking wise, maybe fourth or fifth, but they've been number two. They've been very good. And I think their assessment is going to be playoffs. Can they make that next leap, maybe to conference finals or potential finals? Whether, I didn't say, whether we believe it or not, that's what they're kind of going to be assessed on. And we'll see what happens. But the Grizzlies have been great. Ja Morant, it just looked like, that player that he is, an all-star player. You got uh, Desmond Baines. He's been great. You have Steven Adams, just a team, the coach, everything's just been great. And yeah, Ja Morant, I said all-star, looks like a superstar player. So yeah, the Grizzlies have just been absolutely great. Number one, we got the Denver Nuggets, who are currently 34 and 14th, and I expect Josh to give a triple plus.
Yeah, A plus max rating. I mean, last season they were sixth seed, and I was without two of Jokic's fellow star players in Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. I feel like if you consider Michael Porter Jr. a star, but I feel like this team is taking not a leap because this is where I expect them to be. When with a full healthy roster, I think they're one of the best teams in the league. They're solid on defense with Aaron Gordon contributing on that side. Jokic, I mean MVP again in my opinion. But we'll see. You know how whatever team goes. I feel like this is one of the best teams in the league, if not the best. Jokic, in my opinion, generational talent, one of the best in the league, and I don't know what to say else. Like this is a great team. They're playing good basketball. I feel like Jamal Murray's getting better as the season progresses, as is Michael Porter Jr. And I feel like this team is headed for a great postseason.
You know, I A plus 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 whatever you can give with max ratings. I mean, they're 34-13. I thought personally with Jamal Murray coming back, maybe it would take some time for them to build that. To get everybody acclimated and get the chemistry going. I thought they'd be third or fourth for them to be number one. Absolutely the best team in the West. They've been spectacular. Nikola Jokic, MVP candidate. I think the MVP currently. Jamal Murray's been looking great. Aaron Gordon's been great. MPJ been great. Everybody's been great. KCP, I like that pickup they had. Great defender and a great 3-point shooter. And obviously, I think I said about Mike Brown, but Denver's coach, I'm gonna make sure. I think it's Mike Malone. I think you could agree again. He's also should be one of the favorites to win coach of the year, and he's been doing a great job. And Denver looks like a team that has the chance to win it all. I mean, they have the team, and it's just about staying healthy and yeah, that's really about Denver. But this team's been absolutely spectacular. One of the best teams. They're the best team in the West, and you could argue is Boston or Denver. They look like the best team right now, but Boston's obviously up there as well. But yeah, that concludes episode 31 of the Straight Sports Podcast. Thanks for
Yeah,
tuning in. This was a very just one topic episode, but next episode we'll get back to wrestling and all the other sports we'll be talking about. But for this episode, just mid-season prediction, we're interested to see. Me and Josh kind of had pretty similar answers, I think, right? But it
yeah,
was fun to talk about mid-season. Let's see how these teams from mid-season to the end of season, how different will they be? Will they be higher, lower? We're gonna find out. But yeah, you can and if you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And again, you can follow us at Astro Sports Podcast on Instagram. But yeah, thanks, and we'll be see you in the next episode.
yeah. Thanks for listening. Peace.